So I'm going to take a mix of these blocks here. I'm going to leave a couple of them behind, and I'm going to go ahead and move these blocks. Now I picked a stack here of 5 blocks, and yeah, I'm just going to stay with 5 blocks, and I'm going to move this one stack. Now, how far can a stack move? This is really easy. Base move is 1 location. So I can move from Edo to Oshi, or to any one city that's directly adjacent to Edo. I can move 1 location, easy. If I move all along the highway, in other words, if I don't move on to any non-highway connection, then I can actually move 1 more location. So my move goes up to 2. If I can claim leadership over a stack of blocks, I get another bonus move. I can move a 3rd location. Now, to claim leadership, you either have to start in your capital, like Edo, or in a castle, or you have to reveal to your opponent a leader block from that stack. And you want to be careful about that. I mean, you really don't necessarily want your opponent to know where your overall commander is, because if that commander is lost in battle, you lose the game. So you want to be careful about revealing leaders to get a bonus there. In this case, because the stack is starting in Edo, which is a capital location, I can claim leadership and get that extra +1. I can also get 1 more +1 if I discard a card from my hand, but again, be careful about discarding things. Now in this case here, my goal is to get up here to this location and seize this resource center. So what I would do here is I'm going to count that up. That's going to be 1, 2 locations away from Edo. Now let's look at my base move is 1. All along highway gives me +1. Leadership gives me +1, so that's a total of 3. However, if I'm moving 5 to 8 blocks, I lose 1 movement point. If I'm moving 9 to 12 blocks, I lose 2 movement points. If I'm moving 13 to 16 blocks, I lose 3 movement points. And if I'm trying to remove a ridiculous stack of 17 blocks, I can't move at all. In this case, since I have 5, I'm actually only going to be able to take advantage of moving 2 spaces. The 1 base, the +1 for highway, +1 for leadership, -1 for having that size of a stack. So I can get up here, and then I will adjust the cube, and that gives the Tokugawa faction the lead in the resource centers. Now it's my combat phase. I'm not in any combat situations because I haven't entered the same location as an enemy. So nothing will happen there, and play passes to my opponent. Now, the opponent can do a similar thing. He can discard 1, 0, or 2 of his cards in order to gain movement. Now, what happens if you discard 1 card? If you discard 1 card in order to move, you buy 3 stacks worth of movement. So here's what I could actually do. I could discard a card like this Mori card here. Let's just do this for kicks. That is going to allow me to move 3 stacks. Now, in lieu of moving a single stack, I can actually take and place, do what's called a muster, and take blocks out of my recruitment pool, which is also hidden information from my opponent. He knows I have blocks in there, but he doesn't know their identities. You always keep that hidden. I can actually take those guys out and put them on the map in lieu of one of those moves that I purchased. So in this case here, I think what I want to do is get into a position to capture a castle or get a resource location. Looking at my hand, I have a very strong hand for attacking with Mori or with the those sickle factions or the Ikeda faction. So I'm looking at the blocks that I've got here, and I don't have a whole lot of Moris to attack with at the moment. So it's not a tremendous hand for engaging in any battles or sieges or anything like that. So I guess what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and buy the 3 stacks worth of movement, and I'm going to take this group here in Osaka, and I'm going to move the whole gang. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks. I'm going to move all along the highway. I can claim leadership because I'm moving from a castle. So even though I'm moving 8 blocks, I can still go 2 locations as long as I stay on a major highway here. So I'm going to actually move up to here. Let's take the whole stack. So we can march all the way to that location. That's one of my 3 moves that I purchased. Next, I'm going to muster. And to do that, I'm actually going to place these 2 blocks from my recruitment pool into Osaka because, again, Osaka matches the mon of that particular block. Paul asked the question, only 1 bonus for leadership, not cumulative. No, understand, I got a base move of 1, +1 for highway, +1 for leadership, -1 because I'm moving 5 to 8 blocks. So 2 is as far as I could go. Ideally, I'd want to go to Kuwana, but I want to keep a large army together. This game is a lot about bluff. By keeping a large stack like that, my opponent sees this huge stack. He doesn't know what I can and cannot control in that stack. Now, looking at my cards, the cards show what particular mons of those combat units I have control of and can deploy in a battle. But my opponent doesn't know how much of that I can control and how powerful that is. So you can kind of bluff with your opponent and make them think you're stronger than you really are. No, leadership is leadership. Whether you have a leader and a castle or a capital all in one, you only get +1 for claiming leadership. So even if I were to show a leader there and leave from a castle, I don't get an extra move for that. You only get a +1 for claiming any form of leadership. Okay, so that was 2 moves. Now, if I go ahead and bring forces, if I do a muster and bring forces out of that recruitment box, I cannot move them this turn. So even though I mustered them, I can't move any further with those. For my last move, I'm actually going to take this stack of blocks here at Aizu, and I'm just going to move them 1 location to here. And then I'm going to claim that cube there. And I'm set up in a nice blocking position because now these Tokugawa blocks here have to come through me if they want to threaten my castle. I'm also kind of putting a little bit of pressure on Edo because now my opponent needs to be aware that I could make a sudden dash down and try to take Edo from behind him. Edo is not a castle, and so I could actually do something in the game known as an overrun. An overrun is when you take 4 blocks into a location that has only 1 block. And if you have a 4-to-1 ratio in the number of blocks, you basically destroy the enemy blocks. So if I took 4 blocks into a location with 1 enemy block, the 1 enemy block is removed from the game. Combat losses either in battle, siege, or in overrun are permanent losses. So there you have your movement, and that's another reason why you want to have a big Herkin stack moving around, is because you do possess a overrun capability. And as far as overruns go, you, I believe, cannot overrun castles. So with a castle, you still have to be able to take the castle in a siege. We'll show how one of those works here in just a moment. Like I said, this is a very different game, unlike any other kind of block game I've ever played. It's a lot of bluff, a lot of card management. It's very deceptive in terms of its simplicity. The rules are really like 6 to 8 pages long, something like that. Average playing time, an hour and a half. If both of you know the game, you should be able to move along in an hour and a half. I played with a new player a couple weeks ago, no, 1 week ago, and it was, I think, a 2-hour playing time. And it was both of our first game. And so we were going a little bit slow. And the setup is pretty quick. Like Paul just noticed here, setup times it only takes a couple minutes to put all the blocks out. So that cuts down a lot of your play time with some games is taken up in setting up the game. This one actually goes pretty quick. So I'd say between 1 and 2 hours based on how well you are with the game or how much analysis paralysis you encounter. Okay, so now that A turn is done, there's no combat situation that we've encountered here, so we're actually going to go to the B turn. Initiative stays the same for both the A and the B turn, so Tokugawa gets to go first again. Again, he has to decide, do I want to discard a card, or do I want to take a minimum movement? So, looking at the blocks here, trying to set up a battle situation, and I'm kind of thinking that it would be a good idea to go ahead and do another minimum move. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take this stack of blocks here, and we'll set up a battle situation. And by the way, this is not necessarily to show you best strategy. We're just showing how the game works, and this will set up a battle. All right, we're going to move from this location, and we get a base move of 1, and we'll reveal to our opponent that we have a leader here. That'll give us the leadership modifier. We're not going to be moving along any major highways, so by showing the leader, it allows us to move 1 and 2, and now once we've entered the enemy location there, we have to stop, even if we had other movement points to spend, unless, of course, we overrun the enemy. Overrun does not cost movement points, by the way. All right, so there's no overrun there, but again, we only purchased the 1 movement by discarding 0 cards. So now we go to combat, and we have a field battle. Here's how a field battle works. Players are going to do this. One at a time, starting with the attacker, you're going to deploy a block. You're going to deploy a block by revealing a card from your hand and discarding it. Now, leaders are kind of cool because a leader, if a leader is the first block you deploy to a battle, you can do it without using a card. So Tokugawa will reveal this leader here and commit him to battle. And you look at the number of mons on that unit that's committed to battle. It's got 1 mon on there. So we will take our cube here on the impact track and put it on the 1 box. Now, once a player is ahead in impact, the initiative in the battle switches to the opponent. Now the Ishida player may deploy blocks until he matches the number of impact that the opponent has or exceeds it. So now he's got to decide, what do I want to do here? Now it's kind of a dangerous thing. If I reveal my leader and lose the battle, that leader is probably going to die. So on the other hand, I could play a card. The only card that the Ishida player has that can control any blocks in this stack is this 1 card here. If he deploys this, he would deploy this block here and get 2 impact out of it. But let's just, for giggles and grins, let's go ahead and try to bluff and make my opponent think I've got more cards there than I really do. So I'm going to actually reveal my leader. So that's 1 mon. Impact goes up 1. Now here's where the game can take a twist. Now what's going to happen is the Tokugawa faction does not have the initiative yet. The Ishida faction still has the initiative because the initiative is actually tied. I'm sorry, you play until you've exceeded your opponent's impact. So now my opponent plays this card here and reveals this block. That's got 2 mons on it, so we add 2 on the impact track. At this point, now the play is going to pass back to the Tokugawa player, but as a card is deployed for battle, the other side, if he has a loyalty challenge card, he can play that. But here's what a loyalty challenge card does. If you play one of these on your opponent must be able to reveal from his hand another card with the same mon that was used to deploy that block. So here we use this card to deploy this block. If Tokugawa plays a loyalty challenge on them, then Ishida has to show another card with this symbol. If he cannot do that, then this block will change sides and fight against Ishida.